welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny, and today we're going to wrap up all of the books that I read in October. I'm going to take you through these from worst to best, in my opinion. First up, Catherine House by Elisabeth Thomas. This book for me was about 2 stars. Honestly, it was just utterly forgettable. This was the first book I read in October, and to prepare for this wrap-up, I had to go back and look at my notes. In the span of just a few weeks, I forgot what the book was even about. This is another dark academia that I was persuaded to read by some of my fellow YouTubers, and it confirms that this vibe is just not for me. The basic premise is that we find ourselves following Inez, who is just everything I find annoying about a main character. She's irresponsible, whiny, promiscuous, and narcissistic. She's at an elite university level boarding school, Catherine House, that offers students a full ride, but with the caveat that during their time there, they may not have any contact with the outside world. No phone calls, no letters home, no spring break vacations, no television, nothing. But at graduation, you're practically guaranteed a successful future. So, I do my best to avoid spoilers, so that's all I can really tell you, other than that one of the things that's really important to me is that I feel like I have to connect with the main character on some level. I think you can still root for a character even if you don't like them, but at no point did I find myself rooting for Inez. Her disregard for everyone around her, as well as for her own well-being, pretty well wore me down. I didn't even want her to succeed. I was really just happy when it was over. This book has a 3.11 out of 5 stars rating on Goodreads, so it seems like the internet liked this better than I did. So next up, probably my most controversial option here, is The Silent Patient by Michaelides. The internet is going to hate me for my rating. This book has shown up on every YouTube channel, BookTok video, Instagram story, Pinterest best of list that I've seen recently. So maybe I just went into this with my expectations too high. For me, this was about a 2.5 out of 5, and I feel like that might be a little generous. I can't tell you too much because spoilers, but the gist is that Alicia Berenstein, who is a well-known artist living in London. She has this fabulous supportive husband who she adores. Then, seemingly without provocation, she murders him. What makes this case interesting is that she then never utters another word. Enter her new therapist, Theo, who takes a job at the mental asylum where Alicia is being housed because he's convinced that he is the only one who can save her. This book keeps getting rated really highly for the plot twist, and to be fair, I didn't see it coming. I love it when I'm surprised and I don't figure out the twist. However, sometimes I'm just annoyed. Like, oh right, I didn't see that coming because it's stupid and implausible. So this book was definitely an easy read, easy to follow along, easy to get through. I got through it in about a day and a half. Other than that, I really don't have any positive things to say, and I'm not sure why it's so popular. The book has a 4.17 out of 5 ratings on Goodreads, and someone's going to have to explain that to me. I did go read a few 1-star reviews, and I feel vindicated. I'm going to keep my rating at 2.5 because it wasn't that bad, but I don't know that I'd recommend this, and I'd certainly never read it again. Next up on my list is 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. So this book is set in Ireland in March of 2020 and is focused on the start of the pandemic. Olivia and Kira are 2 lonely singles, both new to the city of Dublin, and meet by chance at a supermarket. They quickly bond over their joint interest in NASA and space. They go on their first date, and then boom, lockdown threatens. What does this mean for their budding relationship? This book has a lot of pros for me. First, I am just removed enough from the pandemic to be interested in reading stories that are set during that super erratic and confusing time. I really liked Kira, and Oliver was okay too. There's a few good twists here and there, and you'll be kept guessing through the whole thing. I did like the story. So why did I only give it a 3? So this book has a style that I just don't like. It's dual, I guess triple point of view. So you get the story from Kira, Oliver, and the police. But I feel like there's a good way of doing that without feeling so repetitive. The author literally rehashes word for word whole conversations without any additional internal viewpoint. You just get this sense of deja vu. Didn't I read this already? The other thing that I got really annoyed with was the jumping around of timelines. 56 days ago from Oliver's perspective. Today from the police's perspective. 18 days ago from Oliver. Back to 56 days ago, but now it's Kira. The whole book jumps around like that. Now, that method does keep you guessing, but I was just getting really annoyed. I could let it go if there was a little less rehashing of the same conversation. But if you're going to make me read this twice, then I need you to at least give me a different perspective. So this book has a 3.79 rating out of 5 on Goodreads, so the internet was a little more forgiving than I was. So next up is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. This book was, for me, about a 3.5 stars. It was completely out of my typical genre. The author is Nigerian born and the book is set in Nigeria. I tend to gravitate to American or British authors, so this was a big diversion for me. And it really makes me want to expand my horizons. Before I get accused of spoilers, I do want to point out that the title of the book is My Sister the Serial Killer. So the book opens with our main character, Corday, being called by her sister, Ayula, to come help clean up after she has killed her third boyfriend in self-defense. Corday rushes to her side, bleach and gloves in hand, to save her sister. Corday is a nurse, very structured, intelligent, with an exceptionally high sense of personal and family responsibility. Ayula is a fashion designer who seems to be floating through life on her good looks and is more than happy to let men take care of her. So Corday is finally a character that I do like and I identify with her. I was rooting for her to get things straightened out. So although this was a bit of an unusual story, the characters really pulled this rating up for me. I had a little bit of a hard time letting go of some of my cultural biases. Things like, oh my gosh, just go to the police. There are points where the main characters do interact with the police, and it's clear that they're not safe with them. So that's a big cultural leap for me. The book was pretty short and easy to read, so I'd definitely give this one a whirl. So this book has a 3.7 out of 5 on Goodreads, so it seems like the internet and I are in pretty close proximity on this one. So next up is Final Girls by Riley Sager. So this is the last book I read in October. In fact, my boyfriend and I listened to the audiobook in the car returning from our cruise yesterday. Our main character here is a 29-year-old woman named Quincy Carpenter. So Quincy is a final girl. This is a term that's applied to the last woman standing at the end of a horror flick. As it's applied here, Quincy is the sole survivor of a mass murder when she and several of her college friends had rented a cabin in the woods to celebrate one of their birthdays. All of them were massacred except for Quincy, who escaped with only superficial wounds. The book is set 10 years after the massacre, and Quincy appears to have recovered. She's now a successful blogger with her own baking website and is living with her stable, perfect, as she describes him, perfect boyfriend. If she says it once, she says it 100 times. She's put that horrible time behind her. But Quincy is just one of 3 final girls. Lisa, the oldest of the final girls, and the one who has been the most visible on TV and in the news, suddenly turns up dead from an apparent suicide. This prompts the news media to suddenly renew their interest in Quincy, as well as the 3rd final girl, Samantha Boyd, who's been hiding for years. Samantha turns up on Quincy's doorstep the day after Lisa's death is announced. And that is where our story takes off. So this book is told in a single timeline and a single point of view. A bit refreshing after some of the other messy, chaotic timelines and points of view I've read this month. So I picked up on some of the plot twists, but not all of them. One of the things that really frustrated my boyfriend was that he felt like every other sentence was a metaphor, and that got pretty old. I'll admit, once he pointed it out, it was hard not to notice it. But even though it was a bit heavy-handed, it was still worth a read. Goodread reviews average 3.84 out of 5, and I'm okay with that. So next up is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. So I'm not going to talk about this too long because I just did a whole video comparing the book to the movies. So if you want to know more, go watch that. I'm rating this a 4. I love the story and the characters. This was a reread for me, and this felt like I was paying a visit to old friends. My biggest detractor from a rating perspective is that the book is a bit dense, so it can take a little time to get into. Goodread reviews average 4.17. So this brings us to my final and top rated book of October. Sorry, that's a drum roll. Go with it. So at a rating of 4.5, Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. So I have not read any of Feeney's other books, but after reading this one, now I want to. So this book follows a married couple that is having obvious relationship distress. They win a free weekend at a remote cabin in the Scottish Highlands in February during a blizzard. So once they get there, one problem arises after another. This book is told by both of their current points of view, as well as through a series of letters that the wife writes to the husband every year on their anniversaries. Although she never gives him the letters, they serve as a small time capsule commemorating their year and the anniversary itself. So there was a point about midway through the book that I did almost abandon ship. And the reason for that is that I was finding the main characters and their relationship to be so toxic that I didn't want to root for them anymore. This is the whole needing to like a character thing. And they were just being downright nasty. But I am so glad that I stuck around. So this book contained one of the better plot twists I've read, and I absolutely did not see it coming. It was a holy crap on a cracker moment, and it was worth waiting for. So Goodread comes out at 3.98 on this one, which is the only book that so far Goodread's ratings is lower than mine. So there you go. That's everything that I read in the month of October. I would recommend everything from My Sister the Serial Killer forward. Let me know in the comments what you read this month and if you've read any of these. Please like and subscribe. And as always, have fun, be safe, and don't murder anyone. Bye.